In this video, we're going to discuss how long the foreclosure process is in Maryland. And let me tell you something, by the time you're done with this, you'll have a really good understanding of what that's all about. You're going to figure out exactly how long it's going to take, what kind of monies you're looking at approximately in that area. I'm going to tell you what this is not. This is not a replacement for a qualified attorney to make sure you get professional help out there, but this is more of a 15,000 foot view, so that if you're either going through that or you're going to do it or you're getting a tax lien or what have you, you're going to understand the runway that goes. You'll know all that by the time we're done. In fact, we'll do this. Stick around to the very end and I'll show you a way to get a little bonus here. So we'll get to that. Maryland, phenomenal state to do business in. Lots of different pockets of it. You've got Baltimore to PG County. I mean, there's so many things going on over there. So let's talk about what it takes to do a foreclosure in that state. First of all, nothing's going to happen in a foreclosure. So let's say that you're getting foreclosed on or you're foreclosing on somebody. I lent somebody some money to buy a piece of property, or I sold one of my properties. I'm carrying the note on it, or I borrowed some money and from the bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. So what happens is this: a property owner, like most states out there, you have to be delinquent for 30 days before an NOD, notice of default, can go out. And this is something I've said repeatedly in my foreclosure videos out there that we have throughout the YouTube verse, if you will, is, if you're not communicating with the lender, that's the biggest mistake. A couple of things. If you're lending money, you need to have some kind of a mechanism in there that makes it okay for them to contact you as soon as possible. If you know you're going to be delinquent on a mortgage on it, the sooner you get a hold of the lender, the better your choices are. Putting your head in the sand and pretending like it's not happening is not really a solution, because it's not going to change anything. Once that NOD goes out, notice of default, there's a window of 90 days in which, in fact, you can contact the lender and stop the whole thing by either renegotiating, maybe doing a loan modification. Those were big back in the default times of the real estate debacle. Or just saying, hey, can we tack those to the back of the loan? Here's the situation. This is why I'm in this situation. Are you willing to work with me? Now, if somebody's doing that with me in the very beginning, I'm more likely to work with them. And I'm going to tell you another, I don't have the stats on the back of my hand, but the longer you go without communicating with the lender, or the longer they go without communicating to you, if you are the lender, the more likely they are going to lose the property. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, as corporate as they are, it's pretty much the same thing. The sooner you can reach out and say, this is the circumstance, the sooner they can put you through the right people, because there is a bureaucracy. So when that NOD, that notice of default, goes out, you have 90 days to come up with some solution. That doesn't mean they have to. If they don't agree with it, they don't agree with it, But if there's something that makes sense, this is what's going on, can we remodify the loan, put those on the back end? There's a number of things that can happen from there. So it's really important that you communicate with the bank on that. And understand that, look, this is the way it works out there. The lenders, the banks are under regulation. They're insured. And so what happens is this: if you're not communicating with the banks got to assume certain things, but the government's pulling stats. So they're looking at this and going, of your portfolio of $1 billion in loans, I'll just use that, this percentage are 30 days late, this percentage is 60 days, and so forth and so forth. And that is what they call a leading indicator. That's going to tell the government what the temperature's like. That's like looking out of the front windshield, and that's kind of telling you the future. Based on how many people are in default, kind of gives you an indication of the economy. They're pulling all this information together to kind of keep this crazy ship of capitalism going. It's not just so that they have good stats on that. There's also real numbers there. The longer it takes you to communicate, or the longer it takes them to communicate with you if you're doing the lending, the more likely they are to go in default. I think it's past 60 days if you haven't contacted and made if it takes you that long to get a hold of the bank with a bad situation, even if you correct the situation, the likelihood of it going back into default accelerate dramatically. A second time, I'm talking even if you resolve this. And so all of those things, they matter. Okay, find out what the situation is, get a hold of somebody right away. I know it's not normal because it's embarrassing and all that other good stuff, but if you're the lender, try to make it as comfortable as possible. Say, listen, I'm going to lend you this money on this property. This is what I'm asking you. If for any reason whatsoever I need to know right away because I need to make adjustments on this. The chances are they think that there's some kind of they've watched too many TV shows where the hand of God comes in and they lose the property and there's Ebenezer Stooge or whatever his name is on that. It's not really the case on it. So let's talk about a foreclosure though. If I'm foreclosing on a tax lien certificate in the state of Maryland, it doesn't really work the same because what's happening is all of those things have already transpired in the beginning anyways. When I'm putting a notice of default on there, they literally at that point have 90 days to respond. That means somebody, I don't care who it is, whether it's the mortgage company, whomever has a financial interest in that property, they've got one solution and one solution only, and that would be to pay the delinquent taxes. And in Prince George's County, that would be 24%. Baltimore County, that's going to be 18%. Or property is lost to back taxes, and their position is negated, wiped out. So if I'm the mortgage company and I get a notification in the mail that this property that I have a mortgage on is being foreclosed on for delinquent taxes, they know that that clock has started. Boom, that NOD has gone out. I've got literally about 90 days at the most to come in and satisfy this. Probably the first thing they're going to do is call the property owner and say, hey, what's going on? You got some delinquent taxes on there. They'll probably come in and protect themselves. But I doubt a bank's going to let a large mortgage evaporate for a couple of years of back taxes. This is what I talk about in a lot of my videos. If I'm buying a tax lien certificate, I'm buying it because I'm getting the high interest rate. I'm not buying it hoping that I get the property. That's very unrealistic. If I want to get a property, I go to a deed sale, and I've got other videos on that'll help you get to that point. But like anything out there, you got to know what you're investing in. You want to do your research. You want to make sure that the underlying property is one that you want. You don't want to just buy a lien on it because you get 18%. If they don't redeem for whatever reason, your only security is the value of the property. So you have to make sure that the value of the property is there. That's what makes tax lien certificates, the safest and most lucrative investment opportunity in the United States today, because you've got these freaking super high interest rates that are mandated by law, and then you've got these properties that have value. There is no ambiguity in it. The law is very clear. You either get the property or you get the interest rate. There is no gray area in any of that. So that's what you have. So in Maryland, to do a conventional foreclosure for delinquent mortgages, you're looking at about, on a good day, 4 months. Just call it 5 to 9 months. By the time all the letters go out, the NEDs, the NOTs, the XYZs, all the legal stuff that has to be sent out from beginning to end. If you do it really tight, you might get it done in 6 months. Realistically, is probably about 8 months, and then you'll have possession of the property and nothing's going to stop it. So that's really what you've got. Now listen, there's a lot of stuff that you have, and there's a lot of ways to make money with it that I haven't had really time to go over. So if you want more information on that, just go down to the link down below. That's higginsmethod.com. I got a brand new course. Okay, this is my gift to you that you can make happen, and go find that out and walk through those videos, and we'll see you on the other side. Okay, this is Saen Higgins saying God bless and good luck. We'll see you out there.